The desert wind was dry and hot, brushing against Jack's face like a warning. He squinted at the sun above, then looked at the map in his hand. The paper was old and faded, just like the voices on the radio that had gone silent 3 days ago. He was alone now. The last outpost behind him had been silent since the sandstorm hit. No backup, no orders. Just sand, rocks, and the strange bones he kept seeing half buried in the dust. Jack had been walking for hours when he heard the first growl. It was low, like a warning from deep within the earth. He froze. Something was watching him. The hairs on his arms stood up. He reached for his knife, not the gun. He didn't want to shoot unless he had to. His heart thumped against his ribs as he turned. Slowly in place. Nothing. Just wind. Then she leapt out of the rocks. She didn't look human. She was taller than him, covered in thick black fur, and had ears like a bear's. Her skin underneath was gray and smooth where it showed. Her eyes glowed bright like gold, and her claws were long and sharp. She didn't speak. She charged at him with full force. Jack moved fast, dodging left, his boots skidding in the sand. He didn't strike, not even when she slashed at him. He ducked, rolled, and backed away. "Wait!" he shouted, his voice shaking but clear. "I don't want to fight." But she didn't stop. Her strength was wild, fast, and full of rage. Each time he dodged, her movements grew more aggressive. She was trying to force him to fight back, but he wouldn't. He didn't understand why she was attacking, but something told him not to strike. He raised both hands and took a step back. "I'm not your enemy." She stopped. Just like that. She stood there, her chest rising and falling fast. Her claws were still up, but her breathing changed. Slower, heavier. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger but confusion. Then, without a word, she took a shaky step backward. She stared at him with something he couldn't name. It wasn't hate. It wasn't fear. It was something broken. She dropped her claws, and then her body shook. Jack watched her eyes widen, and suddenly, tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried to turn away, but her legs gave out. She dropped to her knees in the sand. Jack stayed still. He didn't understand what had just happened. 1 minute she was trying to kill him. The next she was crying like a wounded animal. Slowly he stepped closer. "Careful. Quiet. Are you hurt?" he asked. She didn't answer. Her hands were clenched. Her head was down. Her voice, when it came, was soft and broken. "You were supposed to hit me." Jack crouched near her but didn't touch her. "Why?" Her lips trembled. "Because ... You're human. Humans destroy. Humans take." He said nothing. "I was sent to protect this canyon," she whispered. "It was mine to guard. Mine to die for." Jack looked around at the bones. There were so many, scattered, forgotten. "Others tried to take it before," she said. "They fought. I killed them. That's what I was made to do. But you didn't even try." Jack stared at her, heart still racing. "I'm not here to take anything." She looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears, her black bear-like ears twitching slightly. "Then why did you come?" He took a slow breath. "I was lost, that's all. I'm not here to steal or fight, just trying to survive." She wiped her face with the back of her clawed hand, ashamed. Her fur swayed in the wind, but her face looked younger now, softer, sadder. "You spared me," she said. "Why?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because you didn't deserve to be hurt." She sat there in silence. The wind passed over them like a whisper. Jack didn't know what would happen next. Maybe she'd change her mind. Maybe she'd still kill him. But in that moment, something shifted, not just between them but in her. She wasn't just a protector anymore. She was someone left behind, someone who didn't know what peace looked like until now. And Jack was the first to show it to her. The silence between them stretched. Jack didn't move. The alien girl stayed on her knees, arms loose at her sides. her black bare fur catching bits of sand in the wind. Finally, she looked up again. "My name is Rokai," she said softly. Her voice was low and strange, but calm now. Jack nodded. "I'm Jack." Rokai stood slowly, her tall form rising. With quiet strength. She was still watching him carefully, as if expecting him to turn violent at a second. But Jack didn't. He lowered his hands and gave her space. "You said you were lost," she said, eyes narrowing slightly. "Yet you walked into death. Territory." Jack looked around at the bones again. "Didn't have a choice. Sandstorm took my gear. I followed a dry path here. Thought it would lead to water." Rokai stared at him, then slowly walked past. Her movements were smooth and powerful. Jack followed, unsure if he was being trusted or tested. "Come," she said. "You'll die by night if you stay out here." He walked behind her through the narrow canyon, stepping over broken bones and dried roots. The walls of rock turned redder as the sun dipped lower in the sky. "How many did you kill here?" Jack asked after a while. She didn't look back. "Too many." He didn't ask again. They reached a shaded area beneath a large rock overhang. There, nestled into the stone, was a hidden den. It looked like it had been carved out long ago by hands or claws. He couldn't tell. Inside was dry, dark, and surprisingly warm. Rokai motioned for him to sit. "I won't kill you," she said. "You've already broken the pattern." Jack sat carefully on the cool stone. "What pattern?" She crouched across from him. "Every human I've met. Fights. First contact. Always violence. They come with machines, weapons, greed. I've never seen one stop." Jack looked at his worn boots. "I'm not most humans." "No," she said. "You're not." She reached into a pouch at her side and pulled out a small black fruit. She broke it in half and handed him a piece. He hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. "It's not poison," she said. Jack bit into it. Bitter at first, then sweet. Like overripe berries mixed with dust. It filled his mouth with moisture. He finished it fast. Rokai watched him, then leaned her back against the stone. For a while neither spoke. The sun was setting outside. Pale red light slipped into the cave. "You didn't look surprised when I cried," she said suddenly. Jack looked at her. "I wasn't. Why not?" "Because it looked like you were carrying too much pain." Rokai went quiet. Then, slowly she said, "We are born in rage. My kind, it's how we survive. But rage is heavy. Too heavy when no one helps carry it." Jack understood that too well. He had seen war. He had seen pain in human eyes that never left, even years. Later, he leaned back, stretching his legs. "What happens now? You rest. Tomorrow, I'll show you the edge of the canyon. There's an old water path that leads north." Jack nodded. "And you?" She hesitated. "I'll stay. I was made for this canyon. If I leave, I don't know who I'll be." He looked at her. In the dim cave light, she looked less like a creature and more like a person, someone real. Someone trying to hold herself together. "I don't think you're just a weapon anymore," Jack said. She turned toward him sharply. Her eyes searched his, but she said nothing. Outside, a cold wind started. It howled through the cracks in the Saya canyon. Jack pulled his arms around himself. Rokai stood, stepped toward him, and wordlessly sat beside him. Her fur coat brushed against his shoulder. "You're cold," she said. Jack looked at her. "A bit." She didn't move away. Neither did he. They sat like that for a long time, two beings who should have been enemies, just sharing the silence of a dying sun. The night air was cold and dry. Jack slept lightly, one arm over his chest, the other resting near the hilt of his knife. But it wasn't fear that kept him from sleeping. It was the strange sound of breathing beside him, steady, calm, not human. Rokai was curled near the cave wall, her bare fur coat draped over her legs. eyes shut but ears twitching softly. Even in sleep she looked alert, like a wild animal ready to wake at any sound. Jack sat up, rubbing his face. The desert moonlight came in through the cracks above, casting pale light over the bones outside. He thought about her words from earlier, how she was made to protect this place, how rage was part of her blood. She didn't choose this life. She was born into it, and maybe, so was he. He looked over at her again. Her face looked peaceful now, younger somehow, not angry, not broken, just tired. When morning came, Rokai woke first. She stood silently, shook the dust from her coat, and looked out toward the canyon's edge. Jack followed her without a word. They walked for over an hour through narrow stone paths, over sharp ridges, past dead trees and claw marks carved deep into rock. Jack noticed the signs. This place had seen many fights. This wasn't just a home. It was a battlefield. At one point, she stopped beside a collapsed tunnel. This was where they came, she said quietly. A group of your kind. Miners. They brought fire machines, burned the trees, dug into sacred walls. Jack looked down at the scorched stones. And you stopped them? Yes, but it cost me. I lost others. Jack was surprised. Others like you? She nodded. My kind are few now. Most died here. I stayed. I thought it was my duty. My punishment. Jack crouched and brushed dust from a cracked skull. It was large and curved, not human. You stayed alone all this time? Rokai stared at the horizon. Better to stay with ghosts than become one. Her voice shook for just a second, then went quiet again. Jack stood. You don't have to stay anymore. You could leave. Start somewhere new. She looked at him like he didn't understand. And do what? Live in your cities? Be stared at? Feared? He didn't answer. Because she was right. They kept walking. Soon, they reached a ledge overlooking a long, dry riverbed. It stretched far into the north. Jack could see green trees on the edge of the horizon. Hope at last. That's your way out, Rokai said. It will take days. But you'll find water. Jack turned to her. You're not coming? No, he frowned. Why? She stepped closer. Because if I go, I don't know who I'll be. Jack met her eyes. You'll be more than just a protector. Rokai didn't respond. She just looked at him for a long moment, then turned away. They returned to the den. That night, a sound came, low, strange, not like before. Jack stood up fast, knife in hand. Rokai was already at the entrance, nose lifted, body tense. What is it? He asked. She didn't answer. Her claws came out slowly. Then came the noise again, louder this time. A metallic screech. Something unnatural. They're back, she said, voice cold. Jack moved beside her. Who? She growled, deep in her chest. Humans, not like you. The ones who returned to take what they failed to steal before. Jack stepped forward. Then let's stop them. She turned, surprised. You'll fight? Jack nodded. I didn't come to fight. But I won't let them hurt you. Or this place. Rokai stared at him, her golden eyes searching for something. Then slowly, she smiled. It was the first time he'd seen her do that. And for the first time, the desert didn't feel so empty. Asterisk, the sun had not yet risen when the sound of engines rolled across the canyon. Jack crouched beside Rokai, at the top of a narrow cliff, looking down. 3 human rovers crawled across the dry riverbed below. Each one was armored, with long antennae and mounted pulse guns. Jack's stomach twisted. He recognized the model old war scavengers, usually used by illegal mining crews. They're not military, he said. Private group, dangerous ones. They carry greed, Rokai growled. And death. Jack studied the group. 4 men, 2 women. All armored, weapons at their sides. One of them scanned the ground with a handheld sensor. Another marked something on a digital map. They're mapping your canyon, Jack said. She didn't answer. Her claws scraped the stone beside her. They'll dig again. They'll break what little is left. Then we stop them before they start." She turned to him, ears tilted back slightly. "You will fight beside me?" Jack nodded. "I didn't fight you. But I'll fight for you." Her eyes softened for a second, but her voice stayed firm. "Then follow me." They moved fast through side paths and tight stone tunnels Rokai knew like her own skin. Jack admired her speed, her instinct. She moved like a shadow with purpose. They reached a choke point where the path narrowed between two sharp rocks. "We stop them here," she said. "They will have no room to escape." Jack knelt behind a jagged rock and pulled out the only thing he had left from his pack, a smoke flash, cracked but still working. "You give the signal," he said. "I'll blind the first one. You take the left. I'll handle the right." Rokai nodded. "I will not let them harm you." That made him pause. She wasn't protecting the canyon anymore, not only. She was protecting him. The rover slowed near the choke point. Then came footsteps. One of the crew moved ahead, rifle drawn. He scanned the rocks. His voice echoed across the stone. "There's movement here. Could be native. Watch your sides." Jack held his breath. The moment the first foot crossed the gap, Rokai let out a roar so deep it shook the dust from the cliffs. She lunged. Jack through the smoke. Flash. White clouds filled the space. The humans shouted. Gunfire blasted into the stone. Rokai struck fast, silent, strong. She took down the first man with a slash across his weapon, breaking it in half. Jack rushed through the smoke, tackling another to the ground and slamming the rifle from his grip. Two more rushed forward. Jack ducked as a bullet grazed his shoulder, pain flaring. He gritted his teeth and swung the butt of a broken rifle into the man's chest, knocking him backward. Another human screamed behind him. Jack turned. Rokai stood above a fallen woman, claws dripping, but she hadn't struck to kill. The woman was breathing, just stunned. More shots rang out. One bullet hit Rokai in the side. She stumbled. Jack single quotes S heart dropped. "Rokai." She growled in pain but stood tall. The wound was shallow. The fur had taken most of the hit. Together, they faced the last two attackers, both now backing away. Panicked. Jack shouted, "Drop your weapons." One of them did. The other hesitated, then turned and ran. Silence returned. Dust swirled. Guns lay broken. The survivors lay still, breathing, groaning. Jack turned to her. "You okay?" She nodded, breathing hard. "It's not deep." He stepped forward, hand reaching to check her side. She didn't pull away. "Your blood is dark," he said quietly. "So is my past," she replied. Jack smiled a little. "Maybe we both carry too much." She looked into his eyes. "You still didn't run." He shook his head. "I don't leave people behind." She looked down, voice quiet. "Then, don't leave me." Jack paused. Something in her tone was different now. Softer, real. He nodded once. "I'm not going anywhere." The wind was quiet again. The canyon smelled like dust, smoke, and blood. Jack stood beside Rokai, his arm pressed against her side to stop the bleeding. She didn't flinch. Her eyes were locked on the two surviving humans, now tied and sitting on the ground, their hands behind their backs. One of them was older, with gray in his beard. He stared at Jack, confused. "You're human," the man said, voice weak. "Why are you helping her?" Jack looked him in the eye. "Because she saved my life," the man scoffed. "She's not one of us." "No," Jack said. "And that's the problem." The man looked away. Rokai stood tall, her wound wrapped in part of Jack's torn shirt. Her black bear fur coat was dusted with sand and blood. She walked over to the prisoners slowly, each step heavy with thought. Jack watched her closely. Her eyes weren't filled with rage now. They held something else. Something quieter. "Why did you come back here?" she asked the prisoners. Woman answered first. "We were hired to find metal veins in the canyon." High-value stuff. We didn't know this place was yours. It was never yours to take, Rokai said. The older man looked up. We're just workers. We don't decide the missions. Rokai's claws flexed. But she didn't strike. Instead, she turned and walked back to Jack. You stopped yourself, he said quietly. I wanted to kill them, she admitted. But that's what they expect from me. Rage, death, no thought. Jack nodded slowly. But you're not just a weapon anymore. She looked at him. Because of you. Jack moved to the canyon edge and stared down into the rocks. He could still hear the wind in the bones below. Let them go, he said after a long pause. Rokai's ears twitched. What? Let them leave. They'll carry the story of what they saw. That there's a guardian here. And she's not just a monster. They'll come back, she warned. Maybe, Jack said. But maybe not the same way. Rokai walked toward the prisoners again. Her golden eyes locked onto theirs. If you speak of me, she said coldly, you speak truth, not fear, not lies. The man nodded fast. We will. Jack untied their ropes. Take your injured. Walk north. You'll find the path out. Don't come back. The woman looked at him, confused. Why help us? He said nothing. She glanced once at Rokai before limping away, helping the other up. The two figures disappeared into the morning light. When they were gone, Rokai let out a deep sigh and sank to sit beside the wall. Jack joined her, breathing heavy. You could have killed them, he said. I wanted to, she admitted. But I didn't. That feels strange. Jack looked at her, then chuckled softly. Welcome to mercy. It's heavy sometimes. She leaned back and closed her eyes. Her fur rippled gently in the breeze. I've never let a human go free before, she said. I've never defended an alien with claws before. They both smiled. For a while they said nothing. The wind moved softly around them. Then Rokai turned her head. What will you do now? Jack looked at the sky. I could go north. Find other survivors. Try to get a signal out. She didn't speak. He glanced at her. Or I could stay a little longer. Her golden eyes met his. I've been alone in this canyon for many seasons, she said. But I didn't realize how lonely I truly was. Until I saw someone stay. Jack reached out and gently touched her arm. Her muscles were tense, but she didn't pull away. You're not alone anymore, he said. For the first time she leaned against him, not as a beast, not as a protector, but as someone learning how to feel again. The days passed slowly. The canyon, once filled with danger and silence, now held something new: laughter, soft conversation, and the sound of footsteps that didn't fear each other. Jack and Rokai repaired the den together, using old bones and branches to strengthen the walls. They shared food. They shared stories. And they shared long moments of quiet understanding. Jack taught her how to make fire with flint. Rokai taught him how to move through the canyon without leaving tracks. Each day, they became more than just allies. They became something closer. Something harder to name. One morning, Jack climbed to the high ridge above the canyon. The wind pulled at his shirt as he looked out toward the north, the path that would lead back to the human world. He stood there for a long time. Rokai found him still staring at the horizon. She stepped beside him silently. The wind pushed her long hair around her face, her bare ears twitching with the breeze. You're thinking about leaving, she said softly. I was, Jack answered. There are people out there, people I should warn. Maybe others I could help. She looked away. Yes, you should go. But her voice cracked just a little. Jack turned to her. You could come with me. Rokai shook her head. Your world doesn't want me. They'll never understand what I am. They'll see my claws, my fur, my past. He reached out and took her hand, strong, clawed, but gentle in his grip. They'll see what I see if you let them. She stared at him. And what do you see? I see someone brave, he said. Someone who protected what was sacred, even when it cost her everything. Someone who chose peace when she had every reason to hate. Her eyes filled again, but she didn't look away this time. I thought I was made to defend this canyon. She said that it was all I was good for. Jack smiled gently. Maybe you were made to protect it, but that doesn't mean you were made to be alone. She touched his chest lightly, just above his heart. Then stay. If even for a while. Longer. He didn't answer with words. He just nodded and sat down on the warm stone, pulling her gently down beside him. She curled beside him, her bare fur cloak wrapped around both of them as the sun slowly rose higher in the sky. Far below, the bones of the past lay still, but above them, something new had begun. Two souls, one human. One not finding peace, not in silence or strength, but in each other. In a world that once only knew war, they had chosen something else. Together,